New York Knicks are here, just like the New York Rangers are not here. The New Jersey Devils are. Aaron Rodgers is here. Brett Baty is here. Aaron Judge is not here. He's hurt. But the Knicks, man, they're rolling Sunday. They play the Miami Heat. We're going to be getting into all of that, the predictions, previews, my keys to winning the series. RJ Barrett, playoff RJ Barrett. It's a real thing. Obviously, the draft just happened as well. I'm going to be going over my draft reactions. Deonte Banks out of Maryland going to the Giants as they traded up for him. They went from the 25th pick to the 24th pick. They really wanted him. The Jets, obviously, the Patriots doing them dirty. Trading that pick to the Steelers, snagging the guy that they wanted. Going to be talking about that. The New York Jets, though, they still won in my books, though. They snagged a good pick. They got an edge rusher. They got Will McDonald out of Iowa, so we're going to be talking about that later, what that means for the defense. Rob Saleh, how he's going to be able to coach him. He played a pretty good sophomore and junior years, so Jets fans shouldn't be too worried that we missed out on the guy that we originally wanted. Well, Brett Baty, also, he's red hot. Going to be talking about the New York Mets. They had a nice little comeback yesterday. That shouldn't have even been a comeback. Buck Showalter might be bucking up with his bullpen decisions, leaving Tommy Hunter in for a while. I know Josh with the Mets way, he pointed it out to me. And at first I was like, yeah, maybe, you know what, 7-3. And then next thing you know, I had to eat my words. Josh was right, and I was wrong. And Tommy Hunter sucked. And the Mets, yep, they almost blew it. But luckily, we are fortunate enough to have a guy named Pete Alonso on our team that just matches the ball all over the ballpark. And he came out of his slump yesterday big time. We're going to be talking about that too. But let's get right into it with the first topic of the day. The New York Rangers. Because the New York Rangers, in my opinion, I'm going to just be clear cut and state it right now. The New York Rangers are an embarrassment to New York right now. The fact that they are a New York sports team in this city right now is pissing me off because you're just screwing up the mojo. The Jets, they're riding high. The Giants, even they're riding high. They just coming off the playoffs. Jets, obviously, as I just said before, they're riding high because of Aaron Rodgers. The Yankees, I mean, obviously Judge is hurt, but they're still okay. They're in the race. The Mets, Brett Baty's tearing it up. McNeil's back. Alonso's mashing again. So it's good news over there. And then the Knicks, obviously winning the first-round playoff series. But the Rangers, against a New Jersey team. Now, they're losing to like the Tampa Bay Lightning. Big whoop, who cares? But they're losing to the Devils. And the other part that's really like would irritate me if I'm a Rangers fan. I'm an Islanders fan. So it's like kind of haha, you Rangers suck. You paid all this equity to get Patrick Kane in. And then it's not really paying off because, in my opinion, the Rangers are screwed, especially with the way it looked last night. The Devils were skating all over the Rangers. Panarin is still silent. Same thing with Mika Zibanejad. Both of the Rangers, the two most important pieces on this Rangers team, basically, Mika and Panarin. Probably the two centerpieces for the past, 2 to 5 years. They're silent right now. What is going on? Maybe Panarin has always struggled in the playoffs, but right now, I mean, the Devils have been the better team all year, so it really shouldn't even come as a surprise that the Devils are just playing around with the Rangers these past few games. They're just playing around with them. They put up 4 goals last night. 4 goals in the first minute. First minute, 1 goal already scored. The Rangers are terrible right now. They're an embarrassment to New York. They're about to lose to the New Jersey Devils. And yes, the Devils are better. There's only one way to put it. Why? Because the Devils are the better hockey team. Unfortunately, the Rangers gave up all that equity for Patrick Kane, and Panarin coming up silent, looking like Julius Randle right now in the playoffs. But the only difference is at least the Knicks have a Jalen Brunson, and the Rangers, I mean, they got Mika Zibanejad, right? You think he would be putting up some numbers, right? Nope. He's silent too. So I'm not going to spend too much time harping on the Rangers because, listen, I'm sorry, Rangers fan. I honestly feel bad for you. I can't even usually I talk good about them like all year. I had the Ranger spot with my guy Frankie. But your team just flat out isn't good enough to get the job done. I think the Rangers fans have overrated this team, and they're done. Let's be real. The Devils are winning this series. Whether it goes to a game 7 or not, it's over. The Devils are the better team. Let's get into baseball, though, because the New York Yankees, man, Aaron Judge exited last night's game with an undisclosed injury. Came out today. He's having some discomfort, I guess, in his hips. Don't be too worried. Judge is a guy he's a world-class athlete. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later. Maybe he takes a couple games off, but if it is a serious injury, and if he did go out for a long period of time, I think this is the bigger problem, is you just realize now that this team runs through Aaron Judge. They ended up getting the win last night. They've won their last 2, but before winning their last 2, they were 7-8 in their last 15 games. The Yankees have flat out been struggling. Their lineup stinks. Anthony Rizzo, he's been descending these past couple games too. He's not scorching the ball like he was scorching hot to start off the year. Volpe, obviously, not looking too swell overall. Oswaldo Cabrera, he's not what I thought he would be. I was a big fan of Oswaldo Cabrera coming into the year. That was the one move that I thought the one move I agreed with Brian Cashman. And obviously bringing up Volpe. So I was wrong about Volpe and Oswaldo Cabrera. So I think Yankees fans and Brian Cashman himself kind of bought into this kind of kids mantra. Like, oh, yeah, we'll trust the kids and trust that we have the best player in the MLB. Well, not the best player, but the best hitter in the MLB. No doubt in my mind that Aaron Judge is the best hitter in the MLB, even though he might not have been starting off the year hot. He's still the best hitter in the MLB. Every pitcher fears Aaron Judge, even more than Ohtani. Yes, even more than Ohtani. Ohtani is the best player, but he's not the best hitter. Judge is the best hitter. I hate when people say that Ohtani's better than Judge. Judge, who else is hitting more than 60 home runs right now? Maybe Pete, but there's very few. Pete only hit 53. Judge hit 62. So come on, let's go. This lineup runs through Aaron Judge, though. As great as Anthony Rizzo has been playing, Anthony Rizzo can't carry a lineup the way Aaron Judge can carry a lineup. There's not many players in this league that can even carry a lineup. Even the all-stars, you look around the league, like Pete Alonso, can he carry the Mets lineup? Yeah, at some points he can carry the Mets lineup, but he can't do it all year. Mike Trout and Ohtani, maybe they can carry it for like short stints, but they can't carry it all year. Same thing with like a guy like Juan Soto or a guy like even Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's a beast, but he can't really carry the Phillies lineup. You saw the Phillies underachieve in the regular season, but he carried them all the way to the World Series in the playoffs, but then obviously didn't carry them to the World Series victory. Aaron Judge, though, he's a guy who can carry it. He carried the Yankees last year into the postseason. Obviously, he struggled in the postseason, but that's another point. When Judge struggles, the Yankees struggle. When Judge is tearing it up, hitting 62 home runs, they're going to win 99 games. That's just how it goes. So I'm not concerned about Judge being out a long time. The one thing I'm concerned about is all the pressure on Aaron Judge. It's just this lineup runs through Aaron Judge. If Judge is not performing or if Judge is out, which he is for, we don't know how long now, but it hasn't came out yet, but this lineup just runs through Judge. They need to have answers. Like Anthony Volpe, trusting him to be the leadoff hitter. I love Volpe. I love the talent, but only 22 AAA games. Maybe we did rush him. Maybe Cashman made a bad mistake. He trusted IKF last year. He trusted IKF last year, and that didn't pan out. And now he's like, okay, well, we have Volpe, but maybe it's the owner. I don't know. Maybe it's the new Steinbrenner being too cheap. Aaron Judge, he took less money to go to the Yankees. That's how much he wanted to be a New York Yankee. So, that's how much I love Judge, though. He's a guy loyal. Like there's not many few guys like that in the world of sports right now. Like you got Giannis. Even Brady left his team. It's crazy. Good for Judge. But that's an even more reason to put a team around Judge. He took a discounted deal because he wanted to stay in pinstripes. And all you do is get Anthony Rizzo. And Anthony Rizzo isn't in the prime of his career anymore. As great as he's been playing lately, he's not in the prime of his career. Like I said, he's not a guy who can carry a lineup the way that Aaron Judge can carry a lineup. Gleyber Torres, he had a hot start, but he is what he is. So this Yankees lineup is just flat. It's flat. It's the same as it was last year. It's the same team that got swept by the Houston Astros. It runs through Aaron Judge. And they're built around pitching this year, going into this year, just like the New York Mets planned on having an elite pitching staff. They brought in Rodon to join in Luis Severino, Nestor Cortez, and Garrett Cole. Those four guys. Whew, those are four aces. Like questionable, like maybe Luis Severino's not an ace, but Rodon, Cortez, and Cole, three aces right there. And Severino at time pitches like an ace. And then the fifth guy, you can kind of rotate in and out who you really want with injuries, obviously happening to the rotation now too. So it's kind of good that you have guys like Clark Schmidt, even though Clark Schmidt isn't great, he can give you innings. But, obviously Rodon, I've said it before, he's never pitched in over 180 innings in his entire career. He only pitched in 77 last year. He's been a guy who's injury prone in the past. He's thrown less innings than DeGrom, and DeGrom's actually played more. He's played less seasons than Rodon. So that's another thing. So I didn't like the Rodon signing from the jump. But listen, Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge, that's what this team runs through right now. Nestor Cortez doesn't look like Cy Young candidate Nestor Cortez that he was last year. This team, it's just the same. It's the same. They at the deadline. Listen, stay afloat till the deadline. They're kind of a similar situation than every other team in the MLB. They are what they are right now. And hopefully they can get and stay in the division race with the freaking Tampa Bay Rays that are scorching hot right now, the best team in baseball right now. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Whatever is in the water over in Tampa Bay, I don't know, but it works. The Lightning, Jesus Christ, in the NHL. So, stay in the race. And at the deadline, don't be. Hopefully, they can actually make a move, make a real move. Because now that Stanton's out too for 6 to 8 weeks, even when Stanton comes back, lineup still runs through Judge. So, because Stanton is similar to Anthony Rizzo. One, he's not in the prime of his career anymore. Two, he's not a guy who can carry a lineup the way that Aaron Judge can carry a lineup. So. Lineup runs through Judge. Rotation right now is running through Garrett Cole. Yankees got issues. Is this sustainable? Maybe. Get to the deadline, though, and make a move. Or make a move before the deadline. Because Brian Cashman, he needs to bring in some other stars. You look around this league, it's not just one all-star in the lineup. Like Anthony Rizzo, will he make the all-star team? Maybe. But outside of Rizzo and Judge, and Rizzo might not even make the all-star team, do we expect him to continue on what he was doing? He has been decent in these past couple games, as I said before. Listen, I expect him to stay afloat and be one of the more consistent hitters in the Yankees lineup, but I don't expect anything too crazy from him. So they need to make moves. You look at the Padres, they obviously Soto, Machado, Fernando Tatis. You look at the Mets, Alonso, Lindor, just right across town, Alonso, Lindor, McNeil, the batting champion. You got Brandon Nimmo, one of the best leadoff hitters in the game, over on a $100 million deal. They're committed to keeping a good lineup. The Yankees, they're not committed to even building a good lineup. You look at the LA Dodgers, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, stars. They want stars. So the Yankees, outside of Aaron Judge, and yes, I love Anthony Rizzo, and when Stanton comes back, he's gonna mash home runs, but he's not consistent. He's not Aaron Judge. You need a real all-star, not a guy who used to be really good and you can't really trust him. Or is it really sustainable all year? And like I said, Gleyber Torres, I was raving about him a couple weeks ago, but he is what he is. He cooled down. He really cooled down for the way he started the year. But Yankees got issues, just like the team that I'm about to put up right now got issues. But just, they got some pitching issues. But their offense has been picking up lately. They had a nice little comeback win. Their bullpen has been struggling. Their bullpen has been struggling all year. So has their but the bullpen was also struggling too because Buck Showalter. So I will harp on Buck a little bit there, leaving Tommy Hunter in the game for as long as he left him in. I mentioned it when I opened the show. My boy Josh from the Mets way, he hit me up about it. He was like, "Yo, what is Buck doing?" I'm like, maybe Buck is just being Buck, trusting Tommy Hunter, yeah. But I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not going to harp on him for it. We're up 7-3. We need to get innings out of like one main guy. So let's see what he can do. Maybe he can work out of it. And the next thing you know, boom, home run. They tie the game 7-7. Luckily, we have Pete Alonso. Luckily, we have guys like Jeff McNeil. And they produce. So they put up numbers. McNeil's back, baby. You see him right there. That's why he's in the graphic today. Pete Alonso, he's back too. He was in a huge slump. I believe he was like 0 for 19 going into yesterday's game. Finishes the game with like 2 for 5. Had that big double. So the Mets are now breaking that losing streak that they were on, and hopefully they can get back going to the way that they were on in the West Coast streak when they were 7-3. Losing 2 games to the Washington Nationals in a 3-game series isn't pretty. You look at the Nationals; they're basically a AAA team compared to the Mets. So that's a problem, losing to them 2 out of 3 times. And listen, I'm not going to be like overly dramatic and be like, "Oh, we're losing to the Nationals and it's April." Like, these games do matter because I want to preach that. Like, when we do lose a game, like if we lost that game last night, that could come down to haunt us later on in the year. Like, games in April matter just as much as games in September, because we saw the Mets and the Braves. They both had 101 wins, and the Braves had they had the division lead. They obviously did. They had the luxury of not playing in the wild card round. If the Mets had a 5-game series rather than a 3-game series, well, we go down 2-1, but maybe Scherzer doesn't screw up his next start. Maybe same thing with Bassett. We get DeGrom going 2 games rather than 1. Things like that. Maybe we get out of the first round, and who knows what happens after that. So I'm not saying they win a World Series, but who knows? Who knows if we win the division last year? So if we win 1 extra game in April last year, we win the division. We win 1 extra game in May, we win the division. So losing games in April and May and June matter just as much as losing games in July and September and August. I don't know why I didn't say it in order there. Those months got to go back to 2nd grade. But Jeff McNeil's been hot. Jeff McNeil has been hot. He's batting over 400 in his last 10 games. He's hitting over 300 for the first time since opening day. So we were obviously worried. Not we, because I wasn't. I know. Listen, I admit when I'm wrong. I admit that I was wrong about my Tommy Hunter take. I admit I was wrong about respecting Buck Showalter's decision, because Buck Showalter's decision was flat out stupid yesterday, and I've come to realize that I was wrong there. But I was not wrong. I was riding with McNeil from the jump. You knew he's a career 300 hitter and the reigning NL batting champion. So you should not be worried about Jeff McNeil when he goes into slump. He's going to bounce back, and I don't think he's going to go into slump. He's the most consistent hitter in the MLB. All he does is get on base. He's got 16 hits in his last 10 games. 16 hits in his last 10 games. 16 hits in his last 10 games. I could say it over and over again. Jeff Mick hits. Shout out Shane Sons. I believe they tagged that one. I'm not sure, but I remember seeing a graphic like that. Jeff Mick hits. But the real guy that Mets fans are excited for is this guy. Obviously, Volpe and the Yankees, they have their little issues. But Brett Baty and the Mets, they do not. His last 5 games, he's hitting over 400. And in his 9 games so far only. But hitting 321 over an 800 OPS. He went 3 for 3 last night. Hit his first home run of the year. Last year, obviously, he hit in his first major league at bat ever. He hits the ball over the wall. So Baty fans very excited for. His defense hasn't been holding him back. His offense has been putting him up. He's not only the third baseman of the future, he's the third baseman right now in 2023. Brett Baty is ready. Brett Baty is here to stay. He's not going anywhere for a long, long time, and he's going to be the Mets' third baseman for a long, long time. So they better get used to seeing Brett Baty in the starting lineup a lot more than he has been. I think Buck is going to start to entrust him more and more as he continues to rake. I'm not sure how many games he's specifically on a hitting streak for. He was on like a 4-game hitting streak, and then he pinch hit the other day, and then he went 0 for 1, so it ended his hitting streak, unfortunately. But, shit happens. But Baty's been hot, and that's what fans want to see. They want to see this kid make an impact because third baseman was dreadful when Eduardo Escobar was the everyday third baseman last year up until September. Well, really up until August, actually. That's my mistake there. And same thing. It's dreadful to start the year with Eduardo Escobar here. So now that Brett Baty is producing, we're getting production out of that third base spot, and it's huge. And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. So let's go Mets. Hopefully they can continue on and use that big win, that big comeback win last night. That shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have even been a comeback win. We should have won like 7-3, close it off. But it's baseball. It's baseball. Weird things happen. But before I do get into the Knicks series, I'm going to take a quick break. And then we are going to dive into the Knicks. We're going to dive into the draft. And we're going to close it out. But enjoy this little commercial break. If I can pull up the video.
And even after Ohtani, what do you think? What do you think about Steve Cohen as a whole? Like, you think this guy? What do you think he did for this Mets franchise so far?
Yeah, I think starting with the first half of the question, Ohtani's certainly on the table. The biggest barrier in the Mets' way from them landing him isn't dollars, but it really is just preference. If Ohtani still has the same preference that he had entering the MLB, which is West Coast, then the likelihood of him landing with the Mets isn't as strong as, say, the Dodgers, who, while the Dodgers might not be able to put up the highest dollar for Ohtani the way that the Mets would, it wouldn't be shocking if Ohtani, say, took a slight pay cut from the Dodgers versus what the Mets offer would be. They weren't drastically different to stay in LA, that area, to be with the Dodgers and be on a championship winning type organization still. So that is the biggest hurdle in landing him. But rest assured, we've all known by now that when Cohen has his eyes set on someone, he's going to do everything physically and humanly possible to acquire them. And, I don't expect a Carlos Correa, broken ankle type situation 2.0 here with Ohtani. So rest assured, if the interest is there, which we all know it is, the Mets will at minimum do their due diligence and give a valiant effort in landing him. And should they not, especially, then you look at the Manny Machado. I think either way, the Mets are in a strong position to land one of the top free agents next year. It's just a matter of if it's going to be the best player in baseball or is it going to be one of the best third basemen in the game. So, yeah, we'll discuss that more as we get closer to the trade deadline, depending on where the Angels are at and things of that nature. But, yeah, they will certainly be involved. And to answer the second part, yeah, Cohen, everything that I say by now, right? He's just done an amazing job as Mets owner over the past couple of years. I had the privilege of meeting him a couple months ago, back in early January at a Mets event, and he was just, exactly what you would expect him to be. Just the fact that he goes so out of his way constantly to interact with fans, people, media, just really showing that the only difference between you and I and Cohen is the dollars on our net worth. Aside from that, the same interest level is there when it comes to being a diehard true Mets fan. That is what was the focal point in him buying the team in the first place. It wasn't because of this being a superior investment long term. No, it's because he wants to bring championships to Queens as a desperate fan, and I don't blame him. I would do the exact same thing if I had the money to back it and if I were in his shoes. So, everything he's done from top down, not only in the organization with the amount of funding for the roster, which is right around double more that he's spent on guaranteed contracts alone since he became an owner, which is around $1.4 billion than the next closest owner in baseball over the past couple of years, which is Steinbrenner of the Yankees, around $880 million. Aside from investing a record amount of dollars over that period of time with on-field product, it's off the field. It's with the coaching staff with Showalter, Epler, the hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars that he's also spending in the analytics department, which is something that the Mets didn't even have when Cohen became owner. It's from the smallest things to the biggest things, to the medical staff. Everything and everyone that is currently a part of the Mets organization is making this look night and day from what it was just a couple years ago. And it just shows you that, yeah, having a lot of money certainly helps, but knowing how to properly allocate it into every single area
We are back. We are back live from my crib. Yo, let's get right into it. You see it right there. Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals. Can they do it? Can they do it? We obviously got lucky and Miami Heat beat the Milwaukee Bucks, but we're also unlucky because we are now facing the hottest player in the NBA, also with my name, Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler, who's just been nothing but Jimmy Buckets, as I just said. It's a perfect name for him because the past 2 games against the Bucks, he scored a total of 98 points. Jimmy Butler is tearing it up. He's carrying the Heat right now. So, they're scorching hot right now. I'd be scared right now if I am scared right now. There's no other better way to put it because Jimmy Butler is a stud. But luckily we have RJ Barrett. And RJ Barrett last year against the Miami Heat, we remember that 50-point game that he had. So maybe playoff RJ Barrett because that is a thing. That is a thing. Playoff RJ Barrett. It has a ring to it. I love it. I love the sound of playoff RJ Barrett. Jalen Brunson. Playoff Jalen Brunson is a thing too. So the Knicks, they got more guys. Tyler Hero is going to be out for the series, so that's going to be a plus for the New York Knicks, obviously a negative for the Miami Heat. We have Julius Randle potentially out with the ankle injury. I'm looking right now to see the current update. Earlier today, there was no official update on what's going on with him. Hopeful that'll play in game 1, 25 minutes ago. Yeah, he was limited at practice a couple hours ago. So now I guess he's hopeful that he'll play game 1. But I'm not worried because Obi Toppin, you saw it. He's going to be able to step in, create a lot of space on that floor. You saw him on the fast break. He's going to be able to get out in that fast break. He's going to stretch the floor. He can knock down his threes when he plays a more consistent time. So even with Randall, even if he is playing game 1, you're going to expect to see him in a limited role, probably just like the first couple of games of that series. And you saw it was no fallback because Obi Toppin is Obi Toppin. Knicks fans know what that guy right there, Obi Toppin, is able to do when you put the basketball in his hands. He's a beast. And even on defense, he's good. He can get up there and he's chasing down offensive rebounds, chasing down defensive rebounds. He's a physical guy on both ends of the floor. So, and he's a guy who brings energy, especially when the Knicks have home court advantage this series. And Obi Toppin dunk, nothing ignites the crowd more right now. Nothing ignites in the history of the Garden. I don't think anything has ignited the crowd. Maybe back in the day, obviously, but in the last 15 years of the Knicks, of the Madison Square Garden, nothing has lit up the crowd more than Obi Toppin slamming down a huge dunk that forces the other team to call a timeout. And then you just, nothing ignites the Madison Square Garden more than an Obi Toppin dunk. So Obi Toppin, I'm pumped up for to see him play a couple more big games with the Knicks. But let's go over my bold predictions for this series. I got 3 bold predictions. 1, I think Knicks fans really start to fall in love with Tibbs. Obviously, Knicks fans are starting to fall in love with Tibbs with the adjustments that he made in the first round of the series. And we're getting past a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a good team. They were a better regular season team to them. So you got to give Tibbs credit that we were able to get by a team such as the Cavs. They got a lot of all-stars on that team. So good for the Knicks, good for Tom Thibodeau there. My second bold prediction, RJ Barrett will be the series MVP. Maybe it's not a bold prediction because of the way that RJ's been playing, actually, but maybe it also is a bold prediction because of the way that Jalen Brunson has been playing. So I think RJ Barrett will be the series MVP, though, over Jalen Brunson. I think we could see multiple 25-plus point games. I think maybe even a 30-plus point game here and there. And who knows, maybe he does go off for a 40 or a 50-point game because he did go off for 50 points just last season against the Miami Heat. He was a guy who averaged over 24 a game since the All-Star break of last season. So it's there. The potential is there. Obviously, he had a down regular season this year, but so far in the postseason, RJ Barrett has been nothing but money on both ends of the floor too, because it's not just offense, it's defense too, where that RJ Barrett has been standing out, and he's always been preaching since he's been in this league. He wants to be just as good on the defensive side as the ball, on the offensive side as the ball. So
for him to be doing it on both ends in the most important games of his entire career, I mean, what more can you ask for? Yeah, he struggled this year, but if he's not struggling in the most important games of his career so far, I think that's what really matters. Because Julius Randle, I mean, you got to give him credit. Without Julius Randle, we wouldn't be here, but we wouldn't be in the second round of the playoffs if RJ Barrett wasn't here. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Yeah, he had not a terrible offensive season. Yeah, he had a terrible offensive season. I think there's no, actually, yeah, he did. He had flat out, RJ Barrett did not have a year of RJ Barrett standards. And he hasn't been in the league, obviously, for too long, but it was a down year for him. No better way to put it. So for him to come out here and make up for it in the playoffs and play like the RJ Barrett that Knicks fans know RJ Barrett can be, because he was the 3rd overall pick. He's obviously Zion and John Morant went over him, and Ja obviously makes more of an impact than RJ Barrett because the Grizzlies are a very, very good team. But Zion, I mean, you can argue that RJ Barrett he's a better player than Zion Williamson right now. I mean, if they both retired, RJ Barrett, I mean, obviously none of them would go to the Hall of Fame if they retired today, but RJ would have a better chance he would have a better legacy than Zion, and he already does. Because Zion obviously sitting out of playoff games and RJ Barrett showing up in the playoffs. So there you go, you Zion lovers. So yeah, that's my last bold prediction. No, my last bold prediction is Obi Toppin will shine. I think Obi Toppin, if he gets a start here and there with Julius Randle out, I think we could see him go off for 20 plus points and put himself on the map, because he's already on the map of New York, but he's going to put himself on the map big time. So Obi Toppin, big series. That's my other bold prediction. Other bold prediction, Knicks fans really fall in love with Tibbs. Like, no one has anything to say bad about Tibbs after this series. And then my third bold prediction, obviously, is RJ Barrett, the series MVP. Playoff RJ Barrett. It's a real thing. It is a real thing. And the Knicks, they have a chance of going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And nothing would be better than if the Celtics is who we face off against. Obviously, we got to get by the Heat and get by Jimmy Butler, but I think we will do that. I think Knicks in 6. That's my overall prediction. Knicks in 6. It was the same thing last series. Knicks in 6, baby. It just has a ring to it, and we don't need 7 games. We don't need 7 games. We will need 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals when we play the Boston Celtics, but we won't need 7 games this series. Knicks in 6. That's my final prediction. We got comments. Somebody is going to bitch about Tibbs. Yes, I'll give you a commercial. The Amish Country Mets fan commercial. I could already picture it. We get a lot of commercials. We get some podcast collab commercials for each of us. 15 years. Yep. I think that's right. I was trying to think, like, it's not Obi Toppin's crowd reaction. Definitely not like all-time biggest pop. But in the last 15 years, it's 100% the biggest pop. Also, Bori, bro, that logo is fire. I fuck with that logo big time. I love that. I think it's a perfect new logo. So shout out Amish Country Mets fan. He was on the pod a couple days ago, and he's got a fire new logo. So make sure you check out his stuff. He's got some good content flowing over there on his channel. Make sure you subscribe to it. Let's talk about the draft last night. The New York Jets, they got a guy at 15 who they not necessarily wanted, because the Patriots, they traded their pick away to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who took the offensive lineman that the New York Jets wanted. So screw the Patriots. It's always been screw the Patriots. So now the Patriots, they will get stomped out this year when Aaron Rodgers goes off against them. He will bury the New England Patriots this year. Love you, Mike, but your team is getting buried by the New York Jets. We got the Jets hoodie back on. First time in a while that this Jets hoodie has made an appearance on the pod, because the Jets have disappointed me in the last few weeks of the season. Obviously, they started off 7-4, and they finished the season 7-10. So they disappointed me the last 7 weeks of the season, actually. So this Jets hoodie needed to make an appearance this week because it's been a good week. Aaron Rodgers is here. I think we had a good pick. Obviously, a lot of fans are like, "Oh, well, the Patriots, they stole our guy." Well, they didn't steal our guy, but Will McDonald, he's good. 23 years old. He had 10.5 sacks in 2020. He had 11.5 sacks in 2021. So his sophomore and his junior year, he was really popping off. He only had 5 sacks in 2022, his senior year, but the 10.5 sacks in 2020 and the 11.5 sacks in 2021, that's what I think Rob Saleh saw in this guy. He also is 6'3", 236, so he's going to be an edge rusher that's going to bring speed. You know that right off the bat, and he's only going to get stronger with the Jets in the NFL too, because obviously once you get to the NFL, you bulk up much more. And Rob Saleh, maybe he sees something in this guy. They obviously planned around like missing out on guys that they wanted. They had the 15th pick. I'm sure that they had backup plans. So listen, I'm pumped for Will McDonald. I think, I look at the 10.5 sacks and then the 11.5 sacks in 2020 and 2021. Obviously the 5 sacks in 2020 are a little alarming, but he still had just as many tackles in 2022 than he did in years prior. So Will McDonald, I think it will turn out to be a good pick. And now you look at this Jets O-line, you got Quentin Williams on it. You got now the 15th overall pick in Will McDonald. You got John Franklin Myers, obviously still Carl Lawson. And then in the linebacker crew, you got Quincy Williams. You got CJ Mosley, who's 2 stars. And then obviously our secondary is pretty loaded too. Jordan Whitehead obviously had a down year last year, but I've been preaching a guy like him. If he screws up like he did last year, Aaron Rodgers is going to rip into him. So he don't want to be the one who screws up. Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, obviously we all know what they can do. Sauce Gardner, top 5 cornerback in the NFL, arguably the best cornerback in the AFC. DJ Reed, top 10 cornerback, I think, in the AFC, definitely. Got some comments. Jets, yes. Jets, Jets. But I do love the pick. I would love to get an O-lineman, but, strengthen up that defense because that defense is what's going to win us games. Obviously, the 4-time MVP, Aaron Rodgers, linked with the offensive rookie of the year, Garrett Wilson, will do us very well. But the defense was a top 5 defense last year, and that's what's going to get the job done more than the offense, in my opinion. The defense is what we need to continue to build up. So I love the pick. And then the Giants, their defense, it was a good defense last year. Not a very good defense, but I think this makes them have a good defense to very good. They still want to take that step to the great defense, maybe add a linebacker in the second round. I don't know what their plan is, but the Giants, I do like Deonte Banks out of Maryland. 22 years old, only 22 years old, very young. 8 passes defended in his senior year, only 1 interception in his senior year, but 38 total tackles in his senior season. As a cornerback, that's very good. Sauce Gardner, in retrospective, Sauce Gardner had 40 tackles in his senior year with Cincinnati. He did have 3 picks, but he also had 4 passes defended compared to Deonte Banks's 8 passes defended in his senior year. So, I mean, I'm not saying Deonte Banks is going to be better than Sauce Gardner or anything remotely close to Sauce Gardner. As I just said before, Sauce Gardner is arguably the best cornerback in the AFC after 1 season. But Deonte Banks, there's some Giants fans who are like, hey, I'm not in love with the pick. I like the pick, but I'm not in love with the pick. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm in love with the pick. I think this could take their defense up a little bit. Adoree Jackson coming back. Xavier McKinney, he's a great talent in the secondary too as a safety. You added Bobby Okereke to this defense in free agency. He's a very good linebacker. He was top 10 in terms of tackles for the in last year. And then you obviously have Dexter Lawrence, who was he was a top 5, I'd say a top 5 defensive lineman last year. So Dexter Lawrence is a stud, all-pro. And then obviously Kayvon Thibodeau. You hoping he takes a major step forward in year 2. Took a major step forward, I'd say, in the second half of his rookie season. So that's a good sign. Definitely a good sign. So the Giants fans, be excited about this kid. He's only 22 years old. He had more pass deflections in his senior season than Sauce Gardner did in his senior season when he was with Cincinnati. So be pumped. You needed a cornerback. This guy could potentially turn out to be your number one cornerback for a long, long time. And you need a number one cornerback when you're in the same division when you have the Philadelphia Eagles who have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You need guys to lock up receivers. And I think that's why the Giants went with this kid. And I think it'll pay off. I think, when you face the Eagles and you see this kid guarding an A.J. Brown or a Dallas Goedert or a Devontae Smith, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's why the Giants picked him. So good pick for the Giants. They got a lot more picks too. They obviously moved up, but they still do have a lot of draft stock. Joe Shane has done a great job with this Giants team since he's taken over. So I'm pumped up. I'm excited to see what Deonte Banks will do with the Giants, and I'm excited to see what this defense can really turn out to be now with two very good pieces, in my opinion, added. Keyreek in free agency, and now Deonte Banks in the draft. So the Giants defense expected to take a nice little boom because you obviously already had Dexter Lawrence, Xavier McKinney, Kayvon Thibodeau. It's going to be an exciting time for Giants fans in 2023. Obviously, Daniel Jones coming back with the new deal. Hopefully they can get things worked out with Saquon. And the offense, now adding Darren Waller. Maybe you can get like a number one receiver still in this draft. There's still a lot of good receiver talent in this draft. Not a lot of receiver talent went away in the first round, so that's a good sign for the Giants. They could still find that guy for Daniel Jones to chuck the ball to. And Isaiah Hodgson, I've already said he's very capable of being a number two. And then you have you have Wan'Dale Robinson coming back off of his injury. He was a second-round pick last year. He showed some flashes of the talent that he could provide for this Giants team. So maybe he could make a nice little impact next year. So with the defense and now the offense, hopefully you can find that wide receiver, as I mentioned, might be able to take not a major step forward, but a better step forward. I think they can get a playoff win next year. But if they go to the NFC Championship or the NFC divisional round, I don't see them getting smoked by the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they can compete with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the guys that the Eagles have lost and the people that the Giants are adding. So they're going to continue to add. Obviously, the Eagles getting Bijan Robinson is huge for them, I believe. Is that who they got? Oh, no, they got Miles. Jalen, who'd they get? Oh, what's his name? Jalen, off the top of my head, why am I forgetting this? Jalen Smith, is that his name? But the Eagles got a good guy in the draft, though, too. But the Giants, listen, they're going to be good. They're going to be good. They're definitely going to make the playoffs again. I think they're going from right now 9-win team to like a 10 or 11-win team, in my opinion. Like Eagles still like that 13 to 15-win team, though. So, but both teams, I think you can be happy with the picks. Listen, they're not top 10 picks, obviously. But that's another good thing. The Jets and the Giants aren't picking in the top 10. The Giants don't have to pick Daniel Jones with the 6th pick or Saquon with the 2nd pick, and the Jets don't have to screw up the 2nd overall pick and take Zach Wilson again. They hopefully made just a good choice. This guy can come in, make an impact, and same thing. Hopefully Deonte Banks can come in, provide a lot for this Giants defense. They're in desperate need of a cornerback one. Hopefully he can develop into that or maybe even be that in year one and help the Giants going for a playoff run and really compete with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys in a very good division. So I'm excited for it. Chris loves the pick. We love that. I think it's a good pick. There were some fans in group chats that I'm in that they were like, I like the pick. I don't love it, but I think it's a good. The guy had 8 passes defended in his senior year. Sauce only had 4. So I think, boy, that's a good point. Of course, the comment isn't loading up. Good pick, but we did give up a little much to move up one spot. Yeah, but if Deonte Banks was going 24 no matter what, and that's who the Giants had their eyes on, they really wanted this kid, that means they see something in him. So I think maybe at first it might look like a little too much, but if he turns out to be your cornerback one, I think it turns out to be maybe too little. Maybe you got to steal. So it could look good. I think it depends. I think it's too early. It's too early to tell, a 5th rounder, let's be real. And the Giants have loads of picks this year still. they still have a ton of picks. You know, I think they have 8 picks, 7 or 8 picks still left. So they're chilling. They're chilling. But yeah, that's about it for today, though. Make sure you guys check out What's the Static Pod. Chris has got a good thing going on over there. And make sure you check out Amish Country Mets Fans YouTube channel. He's got a new logo up, so that's pretty fire. I'm going to be back maybe over the week, probably over the weekend. Probably going to be talking some live reactions, maybe a little Mets Way watch party with Shay and Sons. Maybe with, we're going to be cooking. We're going to be cooking this week. Might be doing a Knicks watch party this Sunday with this channel. So I'll keep you guys posted about that. What else? Joey Porter. Oh, dude, if the Giants snagged Joey Porter Jr., that would make that two young corners that could have a lot of potential. I think it's for sure fire, honestly, that this guy Deonte Banks is going to come in, not make a huge impact right away, but I think towards the second half of the year, I think we're really going to see Deonte Banks turn it on. And I think you bring in a guy like Joey Porter Jr. might take a little bit longer to develop, but he's a guy with just as much potential as Deonte Banks. So I think that would be a great pick. That would be a great pick. Yo, Chris, if you want to do a Knicks watch party, hit me up. Maybe we could stream it to both our channels, because I know you be covering the Knicks just as much as me. So if you want to do something, maybe collab or do some shit, let me know and we could run it up. I think it would be fun. The Mets watch party goes very well, but the Knicks, that would be, especially playoffs. And when the playoff time comes, knock on wood, if playoff times comes around for the Mets, maybe that would be fun. That would be fun. But yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Shout out to the boys. Shout out. Am I not playing? Oh, there we go. There's the outro music. Yeah, shout out those boys. Shout out you guys. Always love you guys for showing the support. If you're watching on Twitter, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that retweet button. That would be really cool. Really cool. Watch my latest video. The New York Jets will win the Super Bowl. It's up on my YouTube channel right now. It's creeping up there, so let's get it going. I might pop a couple Google ads on that so it can go out that more. It's putting up better numbers than I expected it to put up, and I feel like I would put a Google ad on it maybe too far. But yeah, make sure you check that video out, that new video I got up. Make sure you check out my last couple YouTube shorts. Got a couple YouTube shorts up. And yeah, that's about it. Good show for today. The Rangers, like I said, they're an embarrassment to New York. If I don't do a podcast from here up until the Knicks game, let's go Knicks. And let's get to the Eastern Conference Final. Because I think we can do it. I really think we can do it. And let's beat the freaking Boston Celtics. I want the Boston Celtics. But we got to get by the Heat first. Deuces.